The President, please be seated. The President, the court is back in session. Before I hand over the floor to the defense team for the co-accused, I hand over the floor to the member of the bench to put the question to this civil party in question. Judge Fence, you may proceed now.
Thank you, President. I have a few short follow-up questions to you. You mentioned you saw 2 workers being electrocuted. Can you tell us what exactly did you see? Is the question unclear? Do you want me to repeat the question?
The President, could you please, Judge, put the question again to the civil party?
Is it true that you said this morning, oh sorry. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I didn't get a translation. Does that mean yes? Can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. You mentioned this morning that you saw 2 people who were electrocuted. Do I remember this correctly?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor.
Can you please explain to me what exactly you saw? Who was doing what?
At the time, as I told the court, on the way back from work site, when I got back to the office, my co-workers and I went to the dining hall. And on the way, we went to the dining hall. We saw 2 workers who were electrocuted under the mango tree, and one of my co-worker who was on the way with me told me that, look, there were 2 people who were being electrocuted under the mango tree.
Can you explain how they were electrocuted?
As for the tools they used to electrocute the workers, I did not know, but one of my co-workers just told me that, look, there were people over there who were being electrocuted. I only saw from the distance, actually, and I did not recognize the tools they used, and I did not know what actually happened when I saw that. I actually walked past that scene already.
Can you tell me how far you were from the place where people were allegedly electrocuted when you looked at them or when you saw it? Do you remember the distance, approximately, roughly?
In my estimation, the distance between the place where I was walking and the place where people were electrocuted, it was about 10 meters away.
And was there anything between you and these people? Trees or bushes? Or did you have free sight on the scene?
At the time I was walking along the way with my co-workers, but when they were electrocuted, those two people, there was one mango tree, actually the mango tree trunk that was blocking the scene.
So again, what did you actually see?
As I informed Your Honor, that's what I saw. I only saw two people were under the mango trees, and then my friend told me that those two people were electrocuted a bit earlier on, and that was it, and then I walked past already at the time.
Oh, do I have to understand that these people were lying under the mango tree? On the floor?
No, at the times they were. One of them was sitting on the ground, and the other one was standing on his feet.
And who was allegedly electrocuting them?
I do not know the name of the person, but the two combatants, they actually were from different units.
Did you hear people shouting or crying or screaming, or was that a silent scene?
When I was walking there, nobody actually screamed for help or anything. I only saw them standing and sitting there still.
Just so I understand the situation, was your friend telling you, look at these two people, they have just or previously been electrocuted? Is this what the scene was?
At that time, I was walking along the way with other co-workers, and then they simply attracted my attention to look at people under the mango trees. I did not see them being electrocuted, but I was told by my co-workers that they had just been electrocuted.
Last question. As far as you could tell from the 10 meters, were these people alive or dead when you looked at them? If you can tell.
Both of them were still alive. At the time, I saw one person sitting and the other one standing, but they were still alive.
Okay, I'm moving to another subject. Very short question. You mentioned that one of your tasks at the worksite was carrying 50 kilo bags. Do I remember that correctly?
ចា
Well, I was assigned to carry cement, and one pack of cement weighs around 50 kilograms.
Right. Can you tell me what your weight was at the time? How much did you weigh at this time?
ខ្ញុំ
At that time, I never weighed my own weight. At that time, we did not have the scale, so I did not even bother to weigh myself, so I did not have any idea how much I weighed.
Do you know how much you weigh today?
Now I weigh at 60 kilograms.
Did you weigh less or more at this time when you were carrying the bags?
At that time, much less than this. At that time, I was very thin and skinny due to the insufficient food ration. Unlike now, I have put on more weight. And at that times, I could not imagine that I could cope with the work and the harsh condition, but I had to do it.
Can you remind us how many hours a day you were wearing bags which weighed either more than or basically what you yourself were weighing? How many hours a day were you carrying those
ចា
bags?
កាល
For our unit at that time, they did not allow us to carry one bag of cement with two people. One person had to carry one bag, and when it was too heavy and I could hardly carry that, I was walking with difficulty actually carrying the cement. And then when I was too slow than others in the group, they warned me why I was so slow in carrying that. But I had to try at that time. I had no choice, but I had to keep going.
So we are talking several hours per day, yes or no, when it comes to carrying the cement bags?
ចា
As I told your honors, they transported the cement by train wagon, and then they made us carry the cement from early in the morning until 12 in the noon, and then in the afternoon we had to carry until 5 in the evening.
Okay, I'm moving to another subject. It's a short question. You mentioned a meeting on regiment level. Do I remember this correctly? In which you participated?
នៅប្រជុំនៅកងវរៈសាលាធំនឹង
In the regiment meeting, as I told the court this morning, they took me out of the division, and then they attached me to the bodyguard unit, unit 75. And then they told me at that time that I had to work harder. And as I told the court, I had to get up early in the morning, as early as 3 a.m. in the morning. Actually, 3 a.m. sharp, they would blow the whistle in order to wake us up, in order to send us to the rice field. And then we would take a break at 11 in the morning. And then at once we had to go back to the field. And we come back at 5. And at 5, we had to go to the fields again in order to prevent the rat from destroying the crops there. And my regiment had told us that your previous superior had betrayed the Angkar, then you had to work harder in order to avoid being executed. Even though you had to work until your blood come out of your body, you would never have a chance to go back and see your parents if you did not work extremely hard here.
And if you remember, at this meeting, did you hear a tape being played? Do you remember a tape being played?
During that meeting, it was not being recorded or tape recorded. It was only an oral communication.
Just to be clear, I didn't mean that the meeting was tape recorded, but was a record played to you? Did you listen to a record during this meeting?
The President, civil party, please hold on. Civil party. No, I did not listen to the recording. Actually, it was a meeting. We were sitting in a row, and then the leaders came to brief us, and they told us what I have just told the court earlier.
And now I come to my last few questions. Can you tell me why you joined the army?
When I joined the army in 1975, at that time I thought to myself that my parents were in the cooperative and they live in a very, very poor condition. They had a very difficult life. So during the liberation in 1975, my younger brother came to visit our family in the village. And then he told me about the difficulties that our family members had to endure. We did not have enough food to eat. My parents were living in a very difficult situation, and they had to go to the rice field in the morning, and they came back very late in the evening. They were all skinny, and they only had their skin covering their bone. Then I thought to myself that if I live in the cooperative, I would not survive probably. So I followed my brothers, and I joined the army in Division 450.
And just so we have it all in the same place, and I want to be very precise on this now, can you tell us, after you joined, where were you in the army until 79, and what positions did you have? No details, just line it up. You started in 75 as what?
When I joined in the Division 450, I was attached to the hospital attached to that Division 450. And then at that time, the leaders were arrested. I did not know where they had been taken to. I do not recall the exact year. At that time, the division head as well as the director of the hospital disappeared mysteriously. I did not know where they had gone. And then the patients also disappeared. So in the small unit which I was attached to was sent to Bang Prajap, and we had to do the farming over there. When we were doing the farming, I was told that for my unit, I had to be transferred to the bodyguard unit in Obaik Om. That was the unit 75. And at that time, they punished us by not giving us enough food ration to eat every day, and we were subject to harsh labor condition over there. And then in 1977, they sent me to Kampong Chnang province, and we stayed there for 6 months in Kampong Chnang, and then they sent us back to Obaik Om. And when we was with Obaik Om unit for about 2 months, and then when they sent us to Kampong Trolait Le in Kampong Chnang province. And at that time, my role was to transport ammunition. I had to carry ammunition from the warehouse to the cart. And then I worked there for several days, to my recollection. And then I saw the Vietnamese troops. And then I also saw the tanks and the exchange of fires. And at that time, I was terrified. I did not join with those units. I fled to the jungle from that time onward.
Thank you. That concludes my line of questions.
The President. Thank you. And Judge Jean-Marc Levange, you may proceed, please.
Yes, I only have one simple question of clarification with regard to this point. So did you get married during the Democratic Kampuchea period or afterwards? And did your husband have any kind of position in the army?
During that era, I was not married. Only once I got back to my village did I get married to my husband.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
The President. Now I hand over the floor to the defense team. First of all, we hand the floor over to the defense team for Nguyen Chia to put questions to the civil party in question. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Madam Civil Party. You were 23 years old when you joined the Revolutionary Army of Cambodia. Is that correct?
I do not recall the exact date, but I remember that was in 1952. That was the year I was born, but as for the date, I am not sure.
You spoke about a brother who was also in Division 450. I understand from your civil party application that his name is Kung Kom. Is that correct?
My brother's name is Kom, and his full name is Mom Kom.
When did he join the military forces fighting Lon Nol?
I was in 1973 under the force of the village chief at the time that he joined this military until the fall of the regime.
And do you know why your brother joined the military forces fighting Lon Nol?
As for the motivation to join the soldiers to fight against Lon Nol, I did not know. But at that time, the village chief forced him to join the army, and that was the reason.
Was he your only brother who had joined the revolutionary forces?
Yes, he was the only brother I have.
What happened to your brother in Division 450? Did he stay? Did he stay a member of Division 450 all the way until 1979?
When I was working in the military hospital, my brother was tasked to produce some cooking pot. But then later on, when their leaders were arrested, and then my brothers and I separated, we did not know where we were at that times, and we separated ever since.
But did he stay a member of Division 450 until 1979?
Could you please repeat your question? I do not quite get it.
Did he, like you, stay a member of Division 450 until 1979?
Response: No, he actually did not stay in the military until 1979. But I did not know where he had gone or where he had been appointed, because we separated in 1976 or so, and then he went somewhere else, and I went on my own, and I never met him again.
And when did he leave the Revolutionary Army, Division 450? When did he quit his work?
When he stopped being a soldier in the army, that is after I returned to the village, and I saw him living in the commune there. And I did not know as when he quitted, because I returned to the village, that is after 1979, and I saw him there.
But do you know whether he left Division 450 before the end of Democratic Cambodia?
I did not really know as to when he did that, because we separated from one another quite a long time ago.
I understand. How many months exactly were you working at the division hospital? Do you remember?
I worked at the division hospital for a full year.
Did you start working almost immediately in the hospital after you had joined the Revolutionary Army?
I started working for the Division 450 hospital after I returned with my brother, and I was simply an ordinary combatant, and I was assigned to work in the hospital. Sometimes I was assigned to work in the kitchen, while at other times I was assigned to give injection to the sick patients there.
Were you a member of Battalion 453?
Please repeat your question.
Were you a member of Battalion 453 within Division 450?
At that time, I was subordinate to Division 450. However, my female unit was in Battalion 53.
Do you recall a Comrade Doon as Deputy Secretary of Battalion 53?
No, that name does not ring a bell to me. In my Unit 53, my superiors were Thier and Kun, and the person you mentioned does not ring a bell.
Do the names Nam and Sen mean anything to you? Were they members of 5-3? But Battalion 5-3? Nam and Sen?
No, the names do not ring a bell to me.
When you were stationed to work at the division hospital, where did you sleep at night? Was that in the hospital or was that somewhere else?
While I was working in the hospital, there was a separate ward for the patients and for the staff there.
Do you recall when you were staying at the hospital how your food ration was, how much rice you and your female comrades were eating per day?
While I was working in the hospital, the living condition was similar to both the patients and the medical staff. The food ration was that we sometimes had cooked rice and sometimes we had two ladles of gruel. And sometimes we actually stole rice or rations for the patients so that we could have a little bit more to eat. In the morning, the patients were given cooked rice, and they would have another meal in the evening. The patients who were admitted to the hospital were not combatants from the front battlefields, but they were those who were assigned to work in the rice fields, and usually they contracted a fever, and due to starvation and lack of food, they became sick and admitted to that hospital.
And is my understanding correct that once you were done working at the division hospital, you were then sent to Ubak Com to work in bodyguard unit 75?
After I stopped working at the hospital, I returned to live at Bang Trayap. Then I was tracked to Unit 75 at Obaik Om.
How many divisions 450 forces were stationed at Ubak Com?
My female unit, which was subordinated to Division 450, comprised a battalion, and there were three. In fact, underneath it was subgrouped into three platoons, and each platoon comprised 30 females.
And what was the reason that you were assigned to work in one of those bodyguard units?
I did not actually know the reason at the time. I was transferred. That is my female battalion unit was tracked out to the location, and as I stated in the morning, we only realized once we arrived. We were told that senior commanders of our division were accused of being traitors, so they had been arrested, and it said that it is anonymous. It is synonymous to a slogan that when the big tree fell, the small trees would be crushed. And when our senior commanders were arrested, we would be under their supervision and their monitoring.
But were you told why you were assigned to bodyguard unit 75?
When I left the division, I was not informed of the reason. We were only told that we were being reassigned, but no proper reason was given, and only upon our arrival were we informed of the reason. The chief of the unit informed us about that our senior divisional commanders have been arrested. And as I just told you, when the big tree fell, it crashed the small trees. And we were sent there to be under monitored, or to be screened out. We were not given enough food, and we were forced to work hard. And we could not have sufficient time to sleep, as we had to wake up by a whistle blow at 3 o'clock in the morning, and by 4 we had to be at the rice field in Obaik Om to do rice transplantation, to carry the rice seedlings. There were no ox carts to transport rice seedlings, and we had to carry them on our head.
Where was Division 450's military headquarters? Where were most Division 450 soldiers stationed? Was it at Ubak Com?
Previously, as I indicated, Division 450 was based at kilometer number 6 near Chiang Chim Ras, that was the headquarters of the division, and some soldiers were deployed to Bang Trayab area, but there was no headquarters in Old Back Om, and only our female unit was sent to be integrated into Unit 75 under the supervision of the General Staff.
Is it correct when I say that Division 450 consisted of about 5,500 or 6,000 soldiers? Is that do you know? Is that correct?
I do not know the figure or the number of soldiers in the division. I only know there were many soldiers within a division. I was merely a combatant, so I did not have the knowledge as to the number of soldiers in that particular division.
But assuming that there were about 5,500 or 6,000 soldiers within Division 450, do you know where the majority of these soldiers were, where their headquarters were? Where were they sleeping at night?
As for the sleeping quarters of various units within the division, I have no knowledge about that. As we were under separate units, although we were subordinate to Division 450, I simply knew about the women living in my unit. But I cannot tell you about the living condition or the sleeping quarters of other soldiers in other units.
What can you tell us about the living conditions in Bodyguard Unit 75, of which you were a member? How were you sleeping at night? Did you have mosquito nets? Did you have mats to lie on? Can you tell us a little more, give us a little more details?
Yeah.
When I came to stay with Unit 75 at Obak Om, we actually slept in the abandoned houses of those former Phnom Penh city dwellers. As those houses were empty, and there were all kinds of housing facilities there, small houses, big houses. However, there were only empty houses, and there were no sleeping mats, no mosquito nets.
So all women from Unit 75 were sleeping in the houses, the abandoned houses within Ubek-Kom. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, my unit from Division 450, and when we arrived to join Unit 75, and I apologize, Counsel, please repeat your question. I'm lost here.
No problem. My question was whether all the female cadres within Unit 75 were sleeping in the abandoned houses in Ubek-Kom. Is that correct?
Our unit came from Unit 450 to stay in Unit 75, and we were under the supervision of our supervisors who were also from the Southwest Zone, and we all were living together.
But do you recall how many weeks or months while you were at Unit 75 did you stay in those empty houses in Ubekom?
I joined the Unit 75 in Obekom, and I stayed there for one rainy season.
Which year?
I do not remember the year. I do not know whether it was during 1975 or 76. I only know that I worked for one season for one rainy season in a rice field, and that we already harvested rice by the end of our stay.
And subsequently, I understand your testimony, you went to work at the Kampong Chnang airfield. Do you recall when that was that you were sent for those 6 months? Was it at the end of the rainy season, the beginning of the dry season, or was it a little later? Do you recall?
I was transferred from Obekom to work at the airfield in 1977, but I cannot recall the exact months. However, it was during the months of the dry season.
Was it in the first month of 1977? Or was it at around the 17th April anniversary? Can you try and see if you remember an exact day or week in early 77 when you were sent to Klang, to the airfield?
As I have just said, I recall clearly it was in 1977 during a dry season, and now from my recollection, in terms of the current practice, the dry season means April.
Let me go to another subject and then come back to this this topic. The commander, the chief of Division 450 was Sung. Is that correct?
Yes. Sung was commander of Division 450.
Do you remember who his deputy was, the number 2 of Division 450?
I only knew Sung, who was the commander of Division 450, and I did not know his deputies. I knew him because I met him in his office when I arrived, and I knew his mother-in-law and his elder-in-law. That's why I knew him rather well. As for his deputies, I had no knowledge.
Do you recall the moment when you heard that Sung, whom you knew well, had been arrested?
that he was arrested, but I did not know when. And in fact, while I was with Division 450, I did not know that he had been arrested. Only after I was integrated into Unit 75, then I heard that he had been arrested.
So were you still at Ubakom when you heard the news that Song had been arrested?
I heard about his arrest after I arrived and stayed at Obek Om, and there was a meeting, and the chief, my chief of the unit, informed us of his arrest.
Were you informed about the reasons of his arrest?
They did not say anything about the reason. We were only told that senior commanders in our division had been arrested, and that was all.
Have you ever heard of a commander of, or leading a military commander in Division 450 named Kroon?
Although I stayed in Division 450, I never heard of that name.
Do you know if Sung, whom you said you knew well, was in contact with the commander of Division 310 named Un?
No, I was not aware of this relationship or communication.
Have you ever been told that Sung, together with others, had been accused of trying to stage a coup d'etat in early 1977?
No, I did not hear anything about that. As I said, I was in my unit and I did not know anything about the affairs or events occurring at other units.
Have you ever heard stories about weapons from Division 450 being stored in order to use these weapons for an armed rebellion?
No, I did not know anything about that. I did not dare want to hear anything or story about another unit. We had to be mindful of what we say or what we ask for, and I adhered to a principle of planting a kapok tree, so I just kept my mouth shut.
Do you know whether Sung had any contacts with somebody called Koitun or Kun?
No, I was not aware of any contact, and as I said, I only knew Sung, and I did not know any Thun or Koi Thun. I was simply a combatant, and we were not allowed to know anything of a confidential nature with our superior commanders.
This morning you gave testimony saying that you did not know the reasons why you were sent together with your comrades to Kampong Chhnang airfield. Did I understand that correctly? That you have no idea why you were being instructed to go to Kampong Chhnang airfield?
I was assigned to work at the airfield work site, and of course we were not being sent there alone. Our unit chief was being assigned there too in order to supervise our work.
Did they, or were you told rather, why you were sent there for 6 months?
They did not give us the reason or as to how long we had to work there. We simply followed the instruction. We were sent there, and later on we were transferred back.
Is it correct, Madam Witness, that when you arrived at Kampong Chhnang airfield, there were about 1,500 plus soldiers of Division 450 working? Let's say more than 1,000 of Division 450. Did you know that?
Combatants from the division who were sent there, I did not know the entire number of the combatants from that division. I only know the number of the female unit which I belong.
Mr. President, I have a document in front of me that is E3/849 with a passage which is indeed deleted in French relating to Division 450, indicating that in March 77 there were 1,526 soldiers and 6 guests from Division 450 working in Kampong Chhnang. So that's where I'm getting my questions from. Madam Civil Party, if I'm saying that in March 77 about 1,500 Division 450 members were working at Kampong Chhnang airfield, does that somehow jog your memory?
No, I do not know about the number from the division. As combatants were attached to various units, so I had no idea about the total combatants working there. I only know about the number of females in my unit or battalion. Even for us, female combatants, we were prohibited from making contact with male combatants.
Let me rephrase my question. When you arrived with your female comrades, were there already thousands of people working at the airfield? Thousands of soldiers working at the airfield?
When I got there in 1977, of course I saw many people, many combatants working over there all across the big airfield, and I did not know who was who. I only knew people who were digging the canals with me. I saw the trucks, I saw the stone breaking machine and other construction equipment, and I believe that there were up to several thousands of workers and combatants working on the field.
And were you able to find out how long these combatants had already been working at Kampong Chang airfield? How long had these thousands of soldiers already worked when you arrived? Do you know?
ចា
When I got there, there were scores of people over there, but I did not know when they got there and where they were from.
When you started working at Kampong Chang airfield, you said that you had to carry cement at one point. Did I also understand that it was a period of 2 weeks that you and your female comrades had to carry cement from train wagons?
As I told the court several times, I was tasked to dig canals, and then once the transport of the cement arrived at the site, we were mobilized to have carried the cement.
Was it only your unit belonging to Division 450 who had to carry the cement, or were also other division members involved?
At that time, there were no any combatant from other divisions or other unit coming to help. Actually, they only made the unit with which I attached together with all the members in my unit, the female member. We were made to carry those cement bags.
How were you able to establish that the bags that you were carrying were around 50 kilo each?
Because other co-workers told me that it weighed 50 kilogram per sack. I never carried the cement before, but I was only told that it weighed 50 kilogram each.
And who was your unit commander at the time? Who was instructing you and your female comrades to do the various work at the Kampong Chang airfield? Who told you, for instance, to carry the cement?
In my small unit, there was a woman by the name of Vân. I call Vân, who was the commander in my small unit.
And was she also your commander when you were still stationed at Ubakom?
She was the commander of the small unit, and as As for the regiment, the commander was Vinh, and then the other one was wrong. And they took us by 2 trucks to Kampong Chnang airport construction site, and then Bong Vinh was the commander at the time.
But was your commanding officer the same woman, the same female cadre as on when you were stationed at Ubakom? Was she the same, the commanding officer? Or was there a change once you had arrived at Kampong Chang airfield?
When they sent me to Kampong Chnang airport construction site, Vinh was assigned to be the commander over there. So there was no change of command at that time. She remained the commander in our unit from Obaik-Om to the Kampong Chnang airport field.
And was there any change in her command, in the way she treated you and your female comrades before and after you were sent to Kampong Chang airfield, or was it the same?
I am afraid that I do not understand the questions when you talk about the change. What do you mean by the change?
That's maybe an unclear question. The way your commander gave instructions to the unit, Vinh, was that the same? Did she do that the same in the same manner before you were working in the military and you were sent to Kampong Chang as after? In other words, was there any change in the way she commanded the unit once you had arrived at Kampong Chnang airfield?
When she got to Kampong Chnang, her command, her attitude toward commanding the unit was the same, without any change.
Did she make you work harder? Excuse me. Did she make you work harder once she and your unit had arrived at Kampong Chnang airfield, or was her command the same in terms of working hours, etc.?
When she got to Kampong Chnang, it was exactly the same as when she was commanding at Obaik-Om. We had to work, for example, from 5 a.m. in the morning, and actually in Obaik-Om we had to start working from 3 a.m. in the morning, but over there at Kampong Chnang airport field we had to work from 5 until 11, and then we broke for lunch, and then we started work from 1 until almost 9 in the evening. So in terms of the nature of work, it was different, but her command was the same. Basically, we had to work until 9 in the evening at the airport, because that was to avoid the heat. So at the times, Sister Vinh, who was the commander of our small unit at that time, she was quite determined in getting her job done, and she also convened some self-criticism session as well in order to avoid those who had to pretend to be lazy.
Did she ever tell you or your comrades in the unit while you were at Kampong Chang airfield that she was punishing you, that she was refashioning you, that she was tempering you? Did she ever use any of those words in relation to you or the comrades, the female comrades in your unit?
At that site, as I told the court earlier, those who did not commit to the work, she did not criticize us at the work sites, but in the evening we would meet together, and then she would criticize. For example, if somebody did not commit to the work that has been imposed, then he or she had to try to accomplish it next time. That was the general criticism she made, the President. Thank you, Council, and thank you, civil party. Now it is appropriate for the afternoon break for 15 minutes. We will resume at 3 p.m. this afternoon. And court officer, please facilitate the civil party so that she can rest during the break, and then have her back in this courtroom before 3.